The New York City Rent Guidelines Board says that landlords of rent-controlled units in the city can raise their rent by 2.75% on one-year leases. The problem is that inflation for 2023 was over 4%. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. Alright, so I have an interesting story for you today, and it's all about the rent increase that the Rent Guidelines Board is going to allow for rent-stabilized units within New York City, okay? And it's not keeping pace with inflation. That shouldn't surprise you one bit, okay? But does that mean that the tenants are satisfied? No, of course they're not satisfied. They wouldn't be satisfied even if the rent increase was 0%. They want the rents to decline, okay? They don't face reality. They don't understand anything about the real estate business. They just think that it's 100% unfair that they're allowing any sort of rent increase at all to happen, okay? But here's the problem. Even with this minuscule rent increase, it does not keep pace with inflation, okay? Which means that landlords' costs are increasing faster than they are allowed to raise the rents. And that's a big, big issue. In fact, for the last few years, the rent increases that they have allowed have not kept pace with inflation. And there were many years where they didn't allow a rent increase at all. So this is my big issue when we're talking about having a governmental agency or having tenant rights groups or someone else setting artificial rates in which you can increase your rents. It doesn't work. And the end result is we have properties that are falling into disrepair because the people can't afford to repair them. Okay? And they will call these landlords slumlords. They'll be like, oh, you're a slumlord because you're not doing the repairs that you need to be doing. And they don't understand that, hey, the landlord literally cannot afford to do the repairs. Literally cannot spend money on the repairs that is necessary because you won't let that landlord raise the rents. Okay, so you're creating your own issue. So you're going to have, like I said, properties that are falling apart, and you're going to have a lot of landlords going bankrupt. And you'll be like, well, I don't get it. The rents are pretty high. Why are these landlords losing money? Well, because the market rates are far higher than what you're allowing them to increase the rents to. And it's a losing battle. It's a losing battle. The few little loopholes that they were using before to get around the whole rent control thing and bring their rents up to market rates, you closed those loopholes and screwed over a lot of people, a lot of investors. Okay, so yeah, this is a bad situation. Hey, but I suggest that if you are looking at investing in this sort of market where they don't care about property rights, they don't care about your business or any business for that matter, right? I mean, it's not like landlords are being singled out here. They treat all businesses like the garbage up in New York, okay? They just do. They treat you like, oh, it's a privilege for you to be here, when the truth of the matter is it's kind of the opposite. It's a privilege for the city to have these businesses, to have these investors putting their money into the city, and they need to treat you with respect. And if you're not being treated with respect, my suggestion is to leave. Go where you are treated right. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. So do you think that the Rent Guidelines Board or any of these rent-controlled people understand anything about the real estate market, okay? About why rents are what they are and how to actually make housing affordable. Do they realize that you think they actually realize that they are hurting themselves with this nonsense? I'm just curious. I personally believe they have their blinders on. Like they're so set in their socialist ways that they think that the only solution to anything is government, basically forcing it to happen, and that the free markets would be a nightmare. But we've seen plenty of places where housing is way, way more available and affordable when the government isn't there setting these artificial price controls. You know, just as a example, we could look at like Houston, Texas, okay, where they don't even have zoning regulations in Houston. And if they want to build more housing, they build a ton of housing, okay? Developers are going in there building tens of thousands of units. They build more units in Houston, Texas every year than, I believe, the entire state of New York, just in Houston. That's not including Dallas or San Antonio or Austin or El Paso or the Rio Grande Valley. Just Houston area builds more housing units than the entire state of New York. Okay? Crazy. And, you know, Houston is nowhere near as big as New York City. So that tells you right there that something is wrong. Okay? And you can't give me the whole thing, oh, New York is built out. Well, you got to build further out. You got to build further out where it's cheaper. You know? Come on. Anyway, let me get into this article and let's talk about this nonsense going on with rent control. This article is coming from westsidespirit.com, and it says Rent Board approves 2.75% hike on one-year leases and 5.25% for 2 years in a contentious vote. 11 tenant protesters were arrested outside Hunter College, but demands for a rent freeze went unheard as landlords warned income will lag costs. This story was originally published by the city on June 17th. Okay, so yeah, interesting how, like I said, they're getting a absolutely minuscule increase when when you're talking about things, right? So just to give you an example of what the increase would be, and keep in mind, I know the numbers are different than this for like New York, but I want to make this very simple so people understand. Okay, for $1,000 a month rent, okay, you're paying $1,000 a month, and then you have a 2.75% increase. That's $27.50 a month. Okay, that's the rent increase that these people are complaining about. That's what is so much that these people went and got arrested. Okay, that's insane. It's insane. And to think that a landlord could keep up with maintenance costs when all of our expenses are going up every single year with that little tiny increase. It's just not possible. Anyway, let me get into the article. In a vote affecting the roughly 1 million New York households in rent-stabilized apartments, the New York City Rent Guidelines Board voted Monday night to allow rent increases of 2.75% for one-year leases and 5.25% for two-year leases beginning on October 1st. The 5-4 vote capped a contentious voting session, part of an annual process in which the city board weighs landlord and tenant economics in setting permitted rent hikes. A crowded tenant group on the Park Avenue sidewalk outside Hunter College calling for a rent freeze preceded the vote inside. 11 demonstrators were arrested after police ordered them to step away from the entrance. So yeah, they want a rent freeze. Like I said, they don't want any rent increase. And, like they have no empathy or no understanding of what landlords are doing at all. And eventually they will win. Okay, that's the big problem right there. You saw that this only passed by a 5-4 vote. Okay, one vote is what separated basically probably a rent freeze versus a tiny, minuscule 2.75% rent increase. It's hard not to be hopeless in this sort of situation. If you're a landlord or a real estate investor up there, I just feel like, man, it's not even worth messing with this stuff, you just touch it and you're instantly getting burned. This is bad stuff going on up there. Okay. And I just don't understand it. I figure that, yeah, there are some good ways to make some really, really big money there based mostly upon appreciation, but I don't know if that appreciation even, is going to happen because interest rates have gone up. Things have changed. The market has changed. A few years ago, I would have thought, okay, yeah, you know what, if you have deep enough pockets, this is worth going after. But now we're looking at long-term higher interest rates. You know, money is not as cheap as it used to be. And so the buyers out there who are looking for this sort of product, they're saying, hey, we're not willing to pay as much as we used to be willing to pay. So yeah, this could be a loser long-term. Man, I feel bad for you guys, but you know what? It is what it is. So I'll put a link to this article in the description down below. Let me know what you think, okay?